Hello and welcome back to Tea with the Queens. So today I'm excited about our next guest. Her name is Jazmyne Bateman, and I'm excited because she's going to be bringing some some hardcore information for us, especially for women who need restoration, who need to dig deep and find that healing inside themselves so that they can take their lives, their business, their whatever to the next level. And I'm very excited about that because we want to deal with the inside. We want to deal with, you know, that healing. We want to deal with what's some things that may be holding us back from accomplishing and reaching our goals. So with Tea with the Queens, we're here. We're here to talk about transformation. We're here to empower. And with those skills and those things that we learn, we want to acquire those things and apply them to our lives, whether our personal lives, our businesses, so that we are effective in all that we do. So I would like to bring up Jazmyne so that she could tell us a little bit about herself in her own words.
Hi, thank you for having me,
Hey,
Medicine.
Jazmyne, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. So I want to thank you first of all for just taking the time out to be a part of Tea with the Queens and just to be able to give this information of transformation, empowerment, because I know that you're going to come with it right based on your bio. I just always just felt that that was so important to understand and to be a part of something that you do. So I'm not going to say what it is you do. I'm going to let you tell us who Jazmyne is.
All right. Thank you for having me again. I'm with allthingscoaching.co. Basically, it's a platform that I created with life coaching and workshops on motivational speaking. And we focus on building, breaking down the old to build up the new. And pretty much, I help people unlearn the past traumas, unlearn negativity, and shift their mindset so that they can learn to love the life they live. Getting into this business, it's dear to me because it's something that I had to go through. I believe, oh, I don't believe, I know it was in the darkest hours of my life where it was nobody that could help me. It was nobody, no mom, no dad, no grandma, no one could help me but me. And it was in those times where I was able to navigate and figure out what went wrong in life. From people pleasing, trauma, family members passing away, my house caught on fire. I didn't have no renter's insurance. Like every bad thing you can think of. So that's why when people try to go toe for toe with me with stories like we could go. So I don't want to hear about all the bad stuff because I have a ton
You know
of
what?
bad things that
That is
happen
so
in life.
that's so true. You know,
Yes.
I'm not taking anything from people who go through things, but we all go through things. We all experience loss. We all experience something. You know, we let everybody have their moment, but we can't allow you to just stay there and we pacify that because we may be dealing with our own things over here. You know, so
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, not to pacify or discredit the things I went through, I thought it was the end of the world too, when I was going through them. And I just had to wake up one day and say, I want to live my life. This is the only life that I'm going to have. And being stuck in sorrow and sad and looking at other people. And I always used to say this, I'll be happy when. And no, it's not reality. When you once you get it, you're not even happy anymore. Now you on to the next thing. And at that
exactly.
point I had start practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
So I started writing a list of everything I was grateful for every day. And it made me start loving the life that I live, loving what I had, appreciating what I had. No matter how big or small it is to me, it may be big to someone else and small to me about perception. And so, in that healing journey, is when I created this. It was a building across the street from my job, and the building probably was like 60 years old at the time, and they were breaking down the building every day. It's like 20 men. And as I'm going through this transformation, I'm watching these men break the building down. And at that moment, I started to internalize it like they're breaking down to build back up. And so to you, you may see the building as this ugly old building being
Yeah.
broke down. But to me, it was new life beginning.
Right.
And that's what inspired me to start this, because once I start feeling good, I wanted everybody to feel good. I'm reaching out to my friends. I even like the transitions that I made was not listening to no negative music. I only listen to happy music. I love
Yes.
my crime shows. I have to stop watching them. I have to start just being around nothing but positive things, because you don't know the reality of how it shapes your mind and how it projects onto you. You sleep with that on your heart. And that's really my journey. And once I was able to get through everything, I wanted to share with everybody else. And I started noticing the people around me, their attitude starts changing, because once you change the narrative and the language, they know they can't call me with, with that at this
Right.
point. You have to call somebody else because Jazmyne is happy.
Right. And after you go through,
It's
sometimes
just
after you go through some
it's a
things,
ripple effect, but in a good
yeah,
way.
there's a heaviness of someone else's journey. Sometimes it's like I just really can't listen to this right now. The heaviness of someone else's journey, and when you always there and been there for someone, they just expect for you to just be there all the time, as if my only
Exactly.
existence is to help you. And I've had that. And I'm like, I really can't at this point. I at this moment in my life, and when I was going through like a real heavy time, I didn't have the capacity. I just didn't have the capacity to do anything for
Yeah.
anybody. And that's when I had to realize that's where I needed to start where for my healing.
Yeah, it's just like a breaking point. And people always say, like, when'd you know? How'd you know? What was the light bulb? It was just like, man, I was tired of everybody and everything going on. I was tired of being pitying myself. I was tired of just living like just in a prison cell in my mind. And
Yeah.
so once I made that choice, I was just like, no, I could never go back. Like, I can't even tell you really the last time I got mad, like angry, because I just been coasting, and I just want everybody to feel. I want everybody to feel this.
Look,
So, one
I
of the
could
first
tell what I could
workshops
tell
I
the last
did.
my no, I said I could tell you the last
You can. Was it today?
yeah.
No,
No, not today.
no.
No, you know what? It was Sunday, and I wasn't mad, but a situation happened at the grocery store with some spoiled food, and had they not
Mhm.
given me a refund, I would have probably took it to another level. So I thank God that I didn't have to do that.
I like
So
that. I like that.
yeah,
I read something that said that people can't make you mad, that anger is the response you chose.
you're
And
right
ever
about
since
that.
then, I've been like, wow.
You're right about that.
That's what
And
you
that would have
chose. They
totally
didn't choose
been
that for you. You chose that.
yeah, and that would have totally been my choice. And and later on, I would have felt bad about it, and I would have said, how could I have handled that differently? Because when you have a standard about yourself, you have to be careful. And when you're out there and you're doing positive things, you have to be careful because any little thing you could slip up with, if somebody may be watching, be like, oh, I saw her on such and such. Or I didn't know she act like that. So, that shouldn't be the only motivation, but that is one of the motivations that I have. You behave yourself, life goes on.
Exactly.
Life goes on.
It
It's
does.
not going to kill you. Just leave it alone.
It's not.
It
You're
was something
absolutely
that you,
right. You'll be all right.
yeah, it was something that you had said that sparked with me was that, and I gotta remember what it was that you said. It was something about your own self pity, just being in that place, and it was up to you to make a decision to get out of that. It's the woe is me type of thing. And if you stay there, you're not going to tread and you're not going to make any movements. Nothing's going to progress. If you stay there, the situation is going to be there. Either the situation is happening or it's already happened. And nothing you can really do about that.
Exactly.
So are you just going to sit there and wallow and self-woe yourself and not make any strides to go to, to move yourself to the next point? So a lot of people, they just sit there and they just, this is just my situation. And I'm like, it's a situation, but it does not define you, and it does not define your destiny. It doesn't even define the direction that you should be going in. That's it's happened, and nothing we can do about it. Like you said, you want to get up. Life. This is our life. What you do with it, you do with it, and you know that if you're still here, you have an opportunity to do something. You want to enjoy your days. And I was talking to another lady. I was like, it's not the duration of your life, it's the quality of your life. So if I live to be 90 years old and my life from now to 90 is, it sucks because I refuse to do something, my duration is there, but the quality is not there. And if I live to be now
Exactly.
until like 5 years from now, I want to give it all I have so that that duration was the best, that, best life that I could even possibly, imagine. So that's how I see this. That's how I see it.
No, you're right. That's how I
So
see it also. One story I always share is my uncle. He's in his 70s, and his family, pretty much a lot of the family is back in New Orleans, and every time you go to his house, he has like all these obituaries because he's in his set, everybody passed away, and so he'd be like, oh,
yes,
read the obituary. And we're young, we don't know the person, we like, all right. And so let's read the obituary. Like, this one man, I read his obituary, and it was just like, he was in the union, he was a volunteer, he was a referee, he was on his church, he was like, I mean, everything you can think this man did. And I was just like, we are living to write our obituaries.
yeah. Wow.
This is our last exit.
That's
And
our
after
last.
reading that man's obituary, it fueled me. This is our last. This is it. So what you
You
want
know,
your obituary to say? One line, two lines?
you know what? I never
So
thought
yes,
about
I
it.
mean, people don't like to think of it that
No,
way. Exactly.
because you know what? It's because it sounds so final. But the thing is that the final is just the reality. So it's like, what would your last story say?
What you did.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because
I
I
mean, this man
really,
obituary was like 3 pages. Yeah. So that's something to
I,
think about because
I might get 3 pages, a couple of pages, but that's the whole point of life, to live it to the full,
yes, like what can
you know.
you do?
Yes. So,
Yes. And like
so
just living
after,
to service.
you're right, and
I
it's
was
like,
just saying, just living to give service to others.
and it's like when you pass through this world, and you want to be able to say, if I help somebody along the way, then my living is not in vain. I know that's cliche, but I feel that way. Help somebody along the way, because that is what we're supposed to do. But also that is leading, that's a seed that you're sowing, not to do it so you can get something back in return, but that's just the way that the cycle, we can't help the cycle, so, but still from your heart help somebody along the way, because if you don't get anything back but the feeling of gratitude, like you said, then that's still enough. That's still enough. And I thank God for the heart that I have, because my heart is to serve, and I can serve without expecting anything from anybody. Everybody is not like that, but I thank God that I'm that way, because my life is happier because I'm able to sincerely be a help to somebody else and not to expect anything in return. So that's what keeps me going. So I want to
I
question.
like
So
that.
when
That's
you
me
started
too.
when you started your business with the all things, it said all things coaching, right? So when you did
Yes.
that, what was your, I guess your what was your format, or what was your foundation for starting the coaching business, and what do you want others to know about what you offer? If that makes sense.
The found Yes, it does. The foundation was the story I told you about the building and
Right.
breaking down to build back up. Honestly, every aspect of our lives is breaking down to build back up. Every 5 years we evolve into something different, and that that journey that I went through and that building during my journey is what birthed all things coaching. um, I pretty much created a module. It's called CPG, and so it stands for conditioning, practice, and game day. And it aligns with sports. People that are familiar with sports, if you have kids, whoever, how sports starts is you start conditioning. And so you go in, they make you run, you sweating it out. And in that form, the parallel to mine is the conditioning is unlearning the negativity, unlearning someone told everything someone told you, unlearning the negative self-talk, unlearning all those things in the conditioning phase. And in the practice phase is when you implement positivity, positive self-talk, mindset shifts, being able to receive that the life you want you can have, and being open to abundance. And so that's parallel to practice, which with sports you practice for the game. During game day is when you take all the steps, so conditioning and practice and game day, which well, like it would be a regular game, is when you show to the world everything you've implemented and adapted to. So being
Yes.
positive, having emotional hygiene, and just having the strength to know that you made it to the other side.
And when you
And so
said,
what my coaching does, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. I was saying when you said emotional
No, no, go
hygiene,
ahead.
that is that's a deep statement. Emotional hygiene. I never heard of that in that text in that capacity before, but that is something that is a very creative way of saying to take care of your of to take care of that, and that's profound.
Deeply.
That's
It's important. I mean, everything around us, we take care of everything. You wash your car, you get the check engine light come on, you go get your car fixed.
mhm.
Your charger breaks, you go into the store. Your phone breaks, you go into the store. Everything else you're maintaining. You're maintaining
Yes,
everything else in your life, but your emotions is what is put to the side. So I know there's a lot of people that will, I have kids, I don't have time for this. I have a husband, I don't have time for this. I have work, I don't have time for this. Like everyone has every reason on why they don't have time for their emotional well-being. And by this being delayed, it could slow you down months, years, decades if you don't take care of yourself and make sure that
exactly,
you're in tune with your emotions. So
exactly.
that's pretty much how I got started.
Okay, okay. So where do you see your? I mean, okay, let's go back. Now you have a book that's not quite ready, but is ready. Can you tell us a little bit about what's coming? The book that's coming, because it's coming.
Yes. It's called The Journey to Heal 11 Years of Situationships. In that book, it details my life um, from beginning to, to almost present. I wrote it 2 years ago, but I still need to publish it. But in that book, it highlights myself being a miracle child. I was born with a 10% chance to live. I had flatlined 3 times, and they actually had to cut my neck right here in order for me to live. I was put on this machine. It's called an ECMO machine. It's a long name, but I was put on this ECMO machine. They had only used it on animals. And so my parents didn't get to hold me until I was 14 days old for the first time. And so I highlight from the beginning, I highlight to my parents breaking up and, being in the single home. I highlight being an only child and being envied and going through all those things of, children's perception and how other children think of you when you're an only child, and then just pretty much highlighting my trauma, loss, family members that passed on, family members that were murdered,
Oh wow.
um, being a first generation college student, first person to go to college on both sides of my family, and so And then at the end, of course, it's all about the journey and how I got started, and just when the light bulb came on, and just how I want to help people. I
The,
I know I can't save everybody, but I just don't want, if I can help people not go through what I went through, I want to help you. If you went through what I went through, I want to help you, and that's pretty much the basis of the book, of who I am, just raw and uncut, and everything I wrote is just straight from the heart. Like every day, I was just writing every day because it was just like, I have to get this out of me. Like this ugliness, this madness, this poison, this cancer, everything you could think of that was in me and on me to get to this breaking point. I put into that book, and at that point, I was free.
so what's the name of the book again?
The Journey to Heal,
The
11
Journey.
years of situationships.
Wow.
Yes, The Journey to Heal.
So you would it be available on your website when it's released?
It will be available on my website. I have uploaded the book audio on TikTok,
Okay.
but I need to. I want to upload it fully on YouTube because it's broken up. So it's like
Oh,
10
okay.
minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So I
Okay.
want to just have it all put together. So I will be uploading it on YouTube soon.
Okay. So
So
what's
it
your
will just
handle
be
for
all audio.
what is your
Would you say?
YouTube? What is your YouTube information?
It's Jay Speaks Life. So JAYE and then Speaks Life.
Okay. So we want to make sure that we say Jay Speaks Life so that we can get a taste of this book, and hopefully it'll be the actual copy eventually, or we can get our hands on it. But check that out because that's going to
Right.
be profound and that's going to be deep. Because when you share a story and when you listen to someone else's story, you start to see yourself in those stories, and you start to recognize, man, when I learned about stories and what people go through, when I start to read everybody's journeys, it sounds so familiar. And you'd be surprised how familiar those journeys are with one another. It's two things that I can get from it. One, I don't feel alone. So I'm not as critical of myself because I know I'm not the only one. And two, I look at the journey to triumph because now they're doing things and you feel like you just can't because of those things, and you learn that, okay, like you were saying with your coaching program, we got conditioning. Now we got to start removing, we got to start getting ourselves prepared. So all of those things work no matter what we've been through. Some of the hardest times, especially growing up, I don't know what it was when I was growing up, but it just seemed like so much trauma in so many households was going on. Our friends, and we have similar stories of things that we've been through, and it was just a time where it seemed like it was a heaviness. So a lot of things I'm sure other decades. I can only talk about my childhood,
Right.
not my generation, but it just seemed like it was a heaviness. It was a lot of broken homes. Having a single parent family was common. When someone said that their parents and they both lived in the same house, it was like, wow, not to put any of that down for our parents, but I was like, wow, because I was not used to that. I just really wasn't used to it. It started out that way when I was younger, but it didn't, of course, end that way. So we all have those that have that weight. But when you start to work through those things, and that's the thing, that don't use the excuse where you can't, or don't use the excuse where you're just stuck.